The Conversation by 𝐂𝐎𝐍𝐶.
So whatever it is that you do, before you commit to something, always make sure you put in your all and making sure that the effort you are putting in is actually 100% of your abilities.
Why then did you decide, I'm going to drop all of these things and pivot into tech?
With the way the world is going, the truth is we just need to be adaptable. Things evolve. The technology and everything we have now is not what was in existence 20 years ago.
If you cannot build that skills, there's nothing you can give to the job. So we don't want a reputation of, they're producing people that they don't know what they are doing at work. The closest people, you and everybody around us, are people who we know are diligent.
2 weeks to your wedding, one of the most beautiful days. All my fears, immigration had told you you had 30 days to leave the country. How you maintained that level of peace in the midst of that chaos? All right. Welcome to the conversation. We've got a special guest here today. But before I introduce our special guest, my name is Taya and I've got Noah with me. And honestly, we are going to be taking you on a journey. As you know, on the conversation, we talk about life, career, faith, and everything in between. But today's session is a special edition. We've got no other person but Tosin on the conversation, guys. This is going to be mind-blowing. I should tell you, myself and Noah, we do have a really, really beautiful relationship with Tosin. So we do go way back. So, of course, we are going to bring you the inside tea, the BTS behind the tech guru himself, Mr. Tosin Omilani. Noah, did you want to kick the floor rolling?
That's right. And this is a bit of a special one because, as Taya said, Mr. Tosin Omilani is such an inspiring figure for us, for everybody connected to the tech community here in Australia and beyond.
Yes.
In our work at 𝐂𝐎𝐍𝐶, it's always a joy to be able to have him around, to help us out, to inspire people who are doing amazing things across the world. And guys, I'm saying across the world.
Across the world.
This is launching a series. So we're going on a series where we'll be inviting amazing people across Australia. Dari, I want to talk about that as well.
Absolutely. So, like Noah said, this is going to be the start of a special edition where we're going to be bringing top leaders. We're going to be bringing influencers across the world to share their experience, to share their journey, to share their life as an immigrant, as a tech professional, as an educator. Generally, from a health perspective, we're going to have pastors as well, because again, as you can imagine, career and your faith and life, they are also interwoven, and you couldn't do one without the other. So as we have now established this, which I do hope that you are excited, please, if you are listening to us wherever you are right now, I need you to grab a seat. Make sure you share this video with someone before you actually get started. Do not be selfish. It's going to be very, very important. As Noah already mentioned, Tosin is a very, very inspiring person. And I guess one thing that stands out when I think about Tosin is how much he puts into every single thing he does. Now, I don't know about you, myself and Noah are driven by excellence, and we are driven by people who move away from anything mediocrity. And if there's a human representation of zero mediocrity, that is Tosin that we've got on the call today. So over to you, Mr. Tosin. Honestly, the first thing that I would love for our listeners to know is, who is Tosin? Like, when you think about the Tosin that a lot of people do not get to know or see, how would you describe that Tosin? Please let us know.
Okay. Hello everyone. Hi Tayo. Hi Noah. So obviously my name is Tosin. Before I go into, actually introducing myself and all of that, I first of all want to, thank you for the privilege to actually come on the conversation. When I saw the invite, Tayo and Noah know me. I generally am a very reserved person. Even though it feels like, Tosin's out there training students, coaching students, and all that. But if you really know me, I'm a very reserved person. I don't like to be out there. So when I got this invite to come on the podcast, I'm like, okay, it's not Antayo. I definitely cannot say no. The only time I'll say no to
Thank
no
you.
Antayo is if they tell me to go murder somebody, and I'm sure they wouldn't be doing that. um, but yeah, on a serious note, yeah, I do not take this for granted, and I feel very privileged. So again, thank you very much, and I'm hoping
You're
we're going to
welcome.
have a splendid time here today. I was born in Lagos, actually, in Nigeria, and then went to primary school in Lagos. Primary school called Ebonwa Nursery Primary School, and
Okay.
yeah, I was I was a very reserved person though, because in my family, my dad is a disciplinarian, and
Okay.
he definitely doesn't settle for mediocrity. He doesn't settle for average or less. So I would say a couple of
That's
times
good.
in secondary school, I actually got, I got the punishment, which is the rods, the cocotos, the canes, and everything like that. That
Right.
was I attended the boarding house, so anytime they give us our results, immediately I just want to check my results to be sure that I've got good grades because I know if I have just mediocre grades and then I take it home, yeah, I'm definitely gonna get the rod. The reason why I opted to go for federal universities because I felt that I was going to be more exposed, when I finish from a university, I'm going into life, and it
Yeah.
trains me for actual, real life experience instead of being bottled
Yeah.
and caged within university experience. And it's the same example I gave for here in Australia. And that's why you see a lot of Nigerians, they're 25, 26, and they're still living in their parents' home, right? Usually you wouldn't see that occurring here in Australia because immediately your parents really expect that at a certain age, you're supposed to actually leave their house and go experience life for yourself, go fend for yourself, set up your own home, meet new people, socialize, see how life is for yourself. Because at the end of the day, your parents are not going to be on earth forever, right? And you'll be all year by yourself. And they expect that you would have built up that resilience to be able to stand against the forces of the world, right? So when it got to level 4, level 5, I began to see life in quite a different way. And I knew that if you really wanted something for yourself, you just had to put in the effort. And at
Okay.
that time, when I got to part 4 and part 5, I said to myself that I mainly only have 2 more years to actually, study in, a tertiary phase right now. I'm not talking about post-tertiary education right now. I'm talking about a tertiary phase. And I'm like, yeah, I really want these 2 years to count. And I really want to do well academically. I was reflecting, I was thinking back to when I was in primary school, how I was
Right.
academically outstanding and all of that. And I wanted to attain that again. And trust me, when I made that decision and I resumed session in part 4, I put in the effort, and you'd see me at the library always reading, and my colleagues were always commenting, what has changed about Tosin, this and that. And by the time I got to the end of part 4, I mean, I couldn't believe myself. All I was seeing is A's, and a few B's um, on my results.
Result.
And the same thing with part 5 as well. I mean, in fact, at that time I was then competing with the best student in the class. I remember even chatting with the best student in the class back then, and we're making a bet that I was going to perform academically better than him in part 5 first semester. And then
Right.
he beat me to it, but it was just by a little bit,
Big
right?
push.
So part 4, part 5, and it opened my eyes to a new reality that in life, the truth is, if you actually want something, all you just have to do is to put in the time and put in the effort, which I wasn't putting in when I was, in my earlier days in university from part 1 to part 3. So I would say I got out of the university on a very strong, on a very strong note, seeing
Yeah.
life in a different light. And, I was really pumped and, I was energized. And then, so while I was working in university as well, I used to work for my dad. And my dad is a marine surveyor.
Okay.
So I used to work as a loss adjuster. So part of my leadership and management abilities actually comes from, my dad's business. I
Okay.
don't know if people don't know this. And even the truth is, even till today, I'm still very much involved in my dad's business. Sometimes my wife will see me and be like, "Oh, what are you doing on your computer?" And she doesn't really know that I'm writing a report that I'm going to send to my dad the following day, right? So I'm still
Wow.
very much involved. Obviously, not like I used to, but
Yeah.
still, much
Yeah.
involved in his business. Help him to write reports and do some communications with stakeholders and things like that.
But I guess one thing that struck me there that you mentioned, Tosin, is growing up in a household where you were not allowed to be mediocre, where it was like you even had to alter some things because it was unacceptable. And moving to a point where even though it was there, you were not allowed to be mediocre. You always had it in your mind, whilst you may not have been doing all the right things to help you not to be mediocre or not doing like the things required, right? It was still there, it was in your mind. How do you think that has contributed to all of this in just knowing fully well that I'm not allowed to be ordinary, I'm not allowed to be an average person, and then moving on to working with your dad? I would imagine at such a young age as well, and I say that very, very carefully, but I'd imagine that you were quite young. How do you think all of these things has shaped you into this person?
Very good question. So, like I mentioned, obviously my dad was that person that he wanted everything to sit, very accurately, very perfect, and I almost call him a perfectionist, but obviously maybe not. But my experiences with working with my dad and ensuring that everything looks really good, the fact that we don't actually sit, for average stuff, has actually shaped who I am today. And it's just something that actually just comes into you as a person. It's something that you've been used to over the years, and then you're carrying out the task or you're doing an exercise, and it's just the flow on effect, right, of how I used to be, something that you've done day after day, week after week, year after year, and then it becomes part and parcel of you, right? And the price you pay for being mediocre is actually getting, you're not getting the actual results. Every effort you put into that thing, at the end of the day, it's going to be in vain, right? Because at the end of the day, you're supposed to put in 100% effort into something, right? And then you end up just putting 50% effort. You might as well not even put in any effort as well, in the first place. Because the truth is, if you put in an average effort, the truth is, life doesn't tell you, because life tells you you're going to get an average result. But if you look at it in, reality or retrospective, you're not actually even going to get any results, right? What you're going to get is not going to be tangible for you at all. So whatever it is that you do, before you commit to something, always make sure you put in your all. At least you do the best, to the best of your ability, with the knowledge that you have. And of course, you have a responsibility to actually acquire more knowledge to do the right thing, but with the best of resources that you also have. But the most important thing here is putting in the effort, right? And making sure that the effort you are putting in is actually 100% of your abilities, right? And not just putting
Powerful.
in some mediocre effort in. So for me, I would say before I actually embark on any journey, personally, I would rather not even be involved in something at all. than to be involved and put in a mediocre effort.
Honestly, that is powerful and absolutely learned a lot of things that we didn't even know about you. So thank you so much for sharing. Now, from all that you've said, to be honest, Tosin, I don't know if not feels the same way, but it does sound like you've got really, really great life, living in Nigeria, working with dad and doing a lot of amazing things. What was that push for you? Why did you decide to migrate? You could have been managing, working with insurance company, working and being a surveyor as well. Given that your dad is already in that line, you could have genuinely a really great life and build your career and even start to build companies. Why the move? Why did you decide to migrate to Australia? Tell us.
Good question. But before I answer that question, I think I'll put this caveat there. For me personally,
Okay.
my migration to Australia wasn't really a do or die, right? Because a lot of people, how people in Nigeria can get freaked out about, oh, it has to be this or nothing. I need to leave the country. I'm sick, I'm tired, and things like that. And the reason why is I already knew that wherever I end up, I was going to be successful. Whatever it is that I laid my hands on, I had that mindset. If it be that I end up in Italy or I end up in Ghana, South Africa, or even in Nigeria, I knew I was going to, I was going to be successful. And successful there means content, right? It doesn't mean I'm going to be the richest person in the world, right? So successful there means content. I knew I was going to be successful, right?
Right.
But I also believe that when you see opportunities, you should try to take advantage of them, or go for it. Position yourself in a way where you'll be able to take opportunities, and at the same time, obviously, involve God in the process as well, right? So initially, I was going to. I hope I'm not digressing, because the question was. The question was, why did I decide to come to Australia? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So initially, I would say I was going to study. I I was practicing as a marine surveyor, right? And I just wanted some more knowledge, more experience, and I thought, okay, as at that time, I had the opportunity. My dad actually asked me, he was willing to sponsor my master's education to go study
Right.
abroad. And, I looked up a few schools and I saw a few places in Canada. And I said, and I said to myself, okay, I think I might just go to Canada to study. And I told my dad that, Canada looks like a good one. Again, I wasn't super freaked about it, about the fact that, how I'm going to migrate, because, it wasn't a do or die for me, right? But then I then spoke to an agent, and the agent told me that, have you actually tried Australia? And he said there was a maritime college in Australia, and what about if I give it a go? I'm like, yeah, okay, that's fine. I'm actually happy to give it a go. And then I got the admission to the school. I put in a casual application, and I got the visa, right. And in fact, I think I remember when I got my admission. I got my admission in like 2016, and I didn't. I kept deferring and deferring and deferring, just because I wasn't even ready as at that time to make the move, right? So I kept deferring until later when I put in the application, and then I came to Australia, right? So the I would say the in summary for that question, it wasn't a do or die thing for me, but right, I would say,
Let's see how it goes.
let's see how it goes. And life has just this is where life. I don't like to say this is where life has brought me, because when I say that, it feels like I'm just going. I'm not really putting some architecture to the design of my life.
Yeah.
Of life, but I would say this is where I found myself. Yeah.
Right.
So, what So what course did you study in the university, or
Yeah,
was it a college, maritime college?
yeah, so I studied a master's of maritime design. So remember, I was doing a lot of pre-survey
Yeah,
and evaluation of things like pleasure boats,
yeah.
catamarans, bulk carriers, oil and chemical tankers, and all of these various type of vessels, right? And that was one part of my job that I really enjoyed the most, apart from all the other loss adjusting and recovering on behalf of insurance companies and superintending agent and things like that. I really loved when I hopped on a vessel and I was actually looking into the structural components, looking into the
Yeah.
safety equipment, looking into the machineries, looking into the body of the hull. So they call a vessel a hull, like the body of the hull and things like that. Um, so that was what prompted me to study maritime design. But then, as God will have it, that's actually not not what I'm practicing today. And I remember when I
We should get
completed
into
my
that.
yeah, we'll get into that. I remember when I completed my master's degree, and my dad was like, okay, you need to start looking at actually penetrating into the maritime sector over there and, this and that, right? So I was like, yeah, okay, no problem. And then my dad had gone to a conference in London many years ago, and then he met someone from Australia, right, in that conference in London, and then created a relationship, right? And when it was time for me to actually apply for my job, right? My dad said, hold on, I think I have this connection from Australia and I have this person. And then he wrote an email to the person, and the person was like, well, yeah, sure, I'm happy to meet him, tell him to come. And I remember going to the person's office back then in Hobart.
Right.
And then the person just had a casual chat with me, and immediately they printed out the contract. And then he actually
Wow.
offered me a role. Yeah, he actually offered me a role. And I was like, wow, that this is really good. As at that time, although it was a casual role, right?
Yeah.
But as at that time, I remember I was actually a service was I a manager as at then, a service manager in another organization in disability services, right? So I was like, okay, casual role, yeah, obviously it doesn't make sense for me to just completely quit whatever it is that I was doing back then. But yeah, of
Yeah.
course I'll take it. And I remember going on the on an on it's one or two inspections with him back then. But as life will have it, like yeah, I got involved in so many other things that I actually didn't then give attention to that, to that job actually. Yeah. But
Okay. So what was the
why
job
did I even say
title?
that?
What
Yeah,
was the
sorry.
job title? What
So
was
the
the
job
job
title was a
title?
marine surveyor. I was employed as a marine surveyor.
Okay. So marine surveyor, and you did mention right now that you were also working as a manager with another company as well.
Yes.
All of all of these things, they are really, really great journey and like very diverse as well, which I think it's always very beautiful to see. But from what I'm hearing, there seem to be a whole lot of, I quite love it. I'm quite satisfied with this. Why then did you decide I'm going to drop all of these things and pivot into tech and innovation and doing something which I would assume completely different from being a maritime surveyor? And with the influence of your dad, you got that easy peasy, and then you were already doing something really well as a manager as well in a different sector. What's the puzzle in there that myself and Noah need to understand? And also for anyone who is listening, how did we move around the circle with that?
So the puzzle in there is one word for me. It's innovation, right? Uh, with the way the world is going, the truth is we just need to be adaptable. And that's why we are human beings, right? Things evolve. Change where we are now is not, the technology and everything we have now is not what was in existence 20 years ago. So things will continue to evolve. So you just need to ensure that you evolve with the world. And if you are static and you remain the way you are, the world will evolve and you'll be where you are and you become obsolete, right? Your skills will become obsolete, right? So you just need to ensure you are evolving. And I took a pause and I was thinking, and I knew with the way the world is going, the world is revolving around technology, right? In
Okay.
everything
Yeah.
we do, like anything we do these days has something to do with technology, right? Whatever it is we do these days has something to do with technology. So that was how I knew, okay, slow down, take a pause, think about this. I think this is the right time you need to start thinking about actually transitioning into a role where you don't become extinct or you don't become obsolete, right? And you become valued, right? Your skills are valued and you can
Okay.
continue to improve yourself because you're already in that bubble, you're already in that space, right? So I think that was the changing point for me when I realized that, okay, yeah, I just need to make sure I position myself in the right space so that, my skills and everything are actually valued in the world, right? And I knew tech was the pathway. So then I began to ask myself, okay, what's the best way for me to actually penetrate this market? And, I then got to find out about, no code tech roles and things like that. And then, I began curious. I developed myself, acquired the skills that I actually
Right.
needed to function on the road, to function on the job. And yeah, I would say the rest is history. Today, I can proudly say that I've trained hundreds of students, not just here in
Amazing.
Australia, but as
Amazing.
you guys would know that I've had experience in, training students in America as well. And yeah,
Well
it's
done.
just been a superb experience so far, and it's something I'm proud about. And it's just the start. Every day I learn something new. I keep developing myself, right? Because I
Well
know
done.
as new things keep coming out, if you decide to stay stagnant, then you're not doing yourself a good favor, right?
No.
Because at
No.
the end of the day, it's like we are running a race against life, against change, right? And if you decide to slow down and just relax and drink water on the track, then life is going to meet up with you and pass you. And then it might get difficult for you to actually catch up on that race. So there's no time to actually mess around and just fold your hands and relax. You actually need to be out there. You need to find out, okay, what's the new thing happening? What's the new
Yeah.
trend? How can I actually equip myself, inform myself of the new skills that I actually need to acquire? And you just need to make sure you are well positioned to stay
Yeah.
relevant in this space.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Tosin, you currently function as a senior business analyst. And congratulations, it's really amazing work that you've done there. But I want us to take a step backwards into what shoes were you in before during the journey to upskilling and acquiring skills? Because as we know today, a lot of people would focus on, oh, I want six figures, oh, I want to work from home, oh, I want to do this. But all I've heard you say is you desired to build the skills required for you to function effectively on that job, which is exactly the mindset of high achievers. Can you tell, for someone listening to us right now, thinking, hey, I want to do this, can you tell us three key things that you think they need to keep in mind for them to acquire those skills and be successful at it?
Very
Obviously,
good
you do,
question.
yeah,
Good question. So, one, I would say, like, you mentioned, I've not said anything here about high paying salary. I've not even said anything here about, flexibility,
yeah,
getting to spend time with your family, and things like that. And there's a reason why I've actually not mentioned all those things. And the reason is because I didn't make that my motivating factor. And I would say that's one. Do not make all of those frivolities your motivating factor. Please don't. Your motivating factor should be the fact that you actually want to impact and you want to actually, you want to contribute, you want to innovate. That should be your motivating factor, right? And it should be around that. It might not necessarily be in those words, but it should be around the fact that, you actually want to add value, right? That should be your motivating factor. Secondly, commitment. I think you really need to set the goals really clear and you need to be committed to the goals, right? Because if you don't have a goal, then you're working towards nothing in the first place, right? If there's no goalpost, how do we score? Right? So there needs to be a goal. You need to set a goal for yourself that this is exactly what I want to achieve, and put a timeline to it. Because if you don't put a timeline to it, you just keep working forever without even achieving the goal. Right? Just like in project management, right? The goal is for us to actually create something. If we run a project without a timeline, we run it forever and we'll never achieve our products, right? So you need to set a timeline for yourself. And you need to make it realistic, of course, because making it not realistic means you're not being realistic with your planning, and eventually, when that timeline comes and you haven't achieved what you're supposed to achieve, then it's just going to demotivate you because you're going to feel like you're actually not doing things right. And then that's why you see a lot of people on that transition plan actually fall off the sideway because they are not realistic in their planning. So depending on the skill that you want to acquire, set some realistic goals. Then third is to surround yourself with the right bubble, with the right people, right?
What does that mean?
So when you're going on a journey, right, and you are going in a certain direction, do you follow people that are going in another different direction on that journey?
Right.
No, you don't. Because what happens at the end? You find yourself in another entirely different destination than where you've originally planned to be. So you need to ensure that you identify people that are actually going on the same path or on the same journey as you and work with them, build good relationship with them, right? Because you know that at the end of the day, you're working on a journey with somebody and you're chatting with the person. Before you know, you guys just find yourself at the destination, right? But when you're working on the journey alone, sometimes it can get a bit boring, you get tired, and sometimes you can even easily give up. And in fact, the most important thing is that sometimes you can even easily get attacked by wild creatures and things like that when you're going on a journey. But if you have people that are surrounded by you, it's going to be very hard for all those external factors to actually break you because you guys are working together as a force.
Very
right?
important.
So making sure that you surround yourself with the right people is something that is very critical and cannot be overemphasized, right? And that's why it becomes very difficult for a lot of people on this journey because they don't surround themselves with the right people. Something you discuss every day becomes part and parcel of you. If you don't surround yourself with people that you can discuss with in the first place, then it becomes very hard for it to become part and parcel of you. Right? So that's my 2 cents.
That's very powerful. So I just wanted to ask you because you did mention that you were a manager in that sector, and of course it takes a process to get into that type of position. So can you just give us a very quick snapshot of how did you become a manager even in that industry? I'm just curious to learn more about that experience.
Yeah, I love the fact that you've actually asked, and I'll start the story from when I actually got into the state I was back then. So I remember when I got into that state, even for roles like support and all of that. When I got into the States, they told me that it was almost impossible to get such roles roles that were surplus in states like Sydney and the likes. The information I got was that, over here it's actually very difficult to even get any job at all, right? And the story I got, this place is actually a very racist place, and the people are not accommodating and things like that. And I feel this is for migrants. I feel sometimes we need to change our mindset, because a lot of people come with the mindset that I'm going into this land and I've been told that people are racist there. If you go with that mindset and maintain that mindset, that is the experience you're going to get. And trust me,
True.
even if you don't even get that experience directly, you are going to interpret whatever experiences you get as though it's racist. You understand? If your fellow brother offends you today, will you say he's racist? You say he's having a bad day. if your fellow brother offends you today, you're not going to tell him that he's racist. Why is it that when a person of color offends us, or when a white person offends us, immediately the first thing is, the person is racist? That's because a lot of Nigerians need to change their mindset. And I figured out that was a thing when I got here to Australia. That a lot of people just feel, anything that any white person does to me is a racist, is a racist attack towards me. No, it could be that the person is having a bad.
Yeah, but to be fair, we need to recognize that there are racists, right?
Yeah, I'm going to get there.
Exist, right? Those experience exists, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to get there. Obviously. But I just want to say the first thing is to first reset and change your mindset. That first of all, not everything that every white person does to you is a racist attempt.
Yeah.
Definition of racist is any discriminative act that's pointed at you. So you first of all need to actually outline, is this a discriminative act? Would this person have done this if I wasn't a person of color?
Yes.
You understand? So the point I'm trying to make there anyways in summary is that I don't want to go, take us on a different trajectory, because that wasn't the question.
Yeah.
But first of all, change your mindset when you come into this country, right? Because the person you are fighting that, is a racist. Because have you seen situations where, your fellow brother has offended you the first time, but that person ends up to be the person that actually helps you eventually on your journey. But it could just be that the person was having a bad day on that day, right? So we should take it as the same as well. Obviously, when it gets to a point where you can actually see that racist comments are made and, you can actually see it for yourself that this is discriminatory, then you need to take actions and speak up, right? But at the initial baseline is first clear your mind that you are being attacked racially until you can actually prove that you've been attacked racially. But anyways, that's a side thought. So what I'm saying here is when I got into the town, eventually, I wouldn't say it's by my might or by my power or anything, but I was able to, land myself a job, right? Now, we had hundreds of people in that organization. It was an organization that was really big over in Tazi, and so many people. But I remember when I finished studying, the manager back then came to me and just asked me, what do you think? Do you think you really like a supervisory position, that we've got a role available, and I just feel you'd be a really good candidate? And me, I'm like, from where to where?
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't apply for anything. I didn't lobby for anything at all. I didn't lobby for anything. And that just tells you that the truth is, from my life experiences, I would say 80 to 90% of the things that I have today are things that have just come on my laps. They are really not things that I've actually had to, really labor for and, there are actually things that have, just come out. And what does that tell you? That tells you that you should prioritize diligence. Because if I wasn't diligent,
Exactly.
at my work,
Yeah.
that guy,
Yeah.
that manager
Never.
wouldn't have come to me and tell me that,
Yeah.
the role available, do you want to be a supervisor? It wouldn't
Yeah.
have happened. But I just, again, stems back to my story back from Nigeria. Whatever it is I do, I just make sure that I'm
Mm.
diligent. I may not be there forever, but I just make sure that I'm diligent to it.
And what you've just said is important. Now, a lot of immigrants, would come into the country and they may not be as privy to some of the information that people now have now where they've been informed, or you can only work in the care sector, you can only work in disability. And a lot of people would go to even those jobs and just do it anyhow, for lack of a better word. Like, I'm just doing it for the money. I'm just doing it for survival. So I'm just going to do things that they just
Shabby.
patch things and not actually give things their best. And I think that there has to be that mind shift that wherever you find yourself, anything that you do, you
Yeah,
need to give it your best. And
absolutely.
because those things are the actual value that would compound into that money for you. And you said something that's got me thinking now, like 80 to 90% of the things that you have, they've come to you. They are attracted to you as a result of the work that you have done, the things that you're doing that is very normal to you. People see it and be like, oh my goodness, this individual, I think they'll be fit for this position.
Yeah.
And it's a lesson learned. So thank you for saying that, because people think, oh, this is not the job that I want. Yes, even if you don't like the job and you don't have fulfillment in it, you either leave or you do it well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't be in a job. Don't be the African on the job that just does, And we say to people, as you know, at 𝐂𝐎𝐍𝐄𝐂𝐓, the reason we are focused on helping you build your skills first before anything else is that I don't want you to be the black girl or the black man at work that doesn't know what they're doing.
What they're
It
doing.
doesn't look good, and wherever you find yourself, you just need to give it your best. If you don't want to do it, please don't do it. It's better if you don't do it than just doing the average and I'll just put it together. And I think it's such a beautiful mindset to have, to say anything that I find myself doing, I have to do it well. For me, I say anything that I do, I have to be the best at it. And I know that comes with a price as well, because you need to put in that work. You need to do a lot of things, which is very, very profound. I don't know if Noah's got a follow-up question from there.
No, I think that's so powerful. Yeah.
Tayo, sorry, I just wanted to chip in. Like, we usually tell our students at 𝐂𝐎𝐍𝐄𝐂𝐓 that at the end of the day, the truth is I'm the only black person in my organization. And we've said this over and over again, like in my old division, right? Taya said the same thing, Noah said the same thing. And I'm just thinking that at the end of the day, either you like it or not, you are going to stand out because of your color,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You need to decide whether you want to stand out for good or whether you want to stand out for bad,
Yeah.
because you can't stand out neutrally. Yeah. Not.
Yeah, no, I think you brilliantly said it. And for us as 𝐂𝐎𝐍𝐄𝐂𝐓 now, even now we say that, hey, this is the amount of work you need to put in there to be able to get this much outcome.
Yeah.
If you don't, and I think the other day, one person called me and was like, oh yeah, there are a couple of people that have done some training before. I think that you should reach out to them and we should tell them, you should help them fix that and so that they can get a job. And when I speak to some of them, I've seen a fundamental skill gap. And for us, how we say, if you cannot build that skills, right,
That's the point.
there's nothing you can give to the job to
That's the
even give you that job offer.
That's the point.
So we don't want a reputation of, oh, they're producing people that those guys, we don't want to hire those black people again because they don't know what they are doing at work. Right? That is a bad reputation for us. We must avoid it. We must always be diligent and that's why the closest people, you and everybody around us, are people who we know are diligent in the things that they do.
Yeah.
And it's so important that in all aspects of life, we should definitely do that. Diligence is It's not a choice. We
It's
just
not a
must
choice.
live by that.
It has to be a lifestyle. Diligence has to be a
Exactly.
lifestyle. It has to be you embedded within your core. And I know you may be listening and wondering, oh, what or who is 𝐂𝐎𝐍𝐶? Let me spare you. Let me give you 10 seconds of my time to tell you. So 𝐂𝐿𝐶 is an edtech company here in Australia where we are focused on helping passionate individuals like yourself to build the skills, upskill, get into career that actually provides you an opportunity to add value. As of today in Australia, a lot of people work in jobs that are way below their skill level. A lot of people work in jobs where they want to be able to. I was speaking to someone the other day and she said, I want a job where I can use my inherent skills, such as planning, such as being innovative, such as putting processes together. And I was actually really impressed because she was so sure of what she wanted. Those are the people that we work with, and we have successfully supported people in hundreds here in Australia, in the UK, to go ahead and secure roles such as business analysis, scrum master, and product owner. So if you would like to learn more, by all means, please leave us a comment. Now, so Tosin, you also currently work with 𝐂𝐿𝐶 as a coach,
Yep.
a facilitator, and a mentor. In that job and working in that capacity, fueled by a lot of your passion, where you put in all of your diligence, myself and Noah will talk about this and be like, it's the precision, it's the excellence, it's the yes, I'm going to do it. And not just do it, you do it brilliantly well, show up and do everything to ensure that our learners would build their skills. So let me say thank you so much for doing that. But I guess I wanted to ask you, how challenging do you think that because it's a mandate and a mantle, how challenging does that get for you sometimes? Having to navigate that process, supporting a lot of really amazing, peculiar individuals that we support. How challenging can that be sometimes for you?
Well, so obviously every commitment comes with its own challenges. So this is a commitment, and it's definitely got its own challenges. First of all, you understand that you have to actually put in the time. You remember that, oh, this student has actually reached out, they need some help. You just need to be there for them. So you need to make out some time. So trying to balance it all, trying to balance, time with family, trying to balance
Yes.
time at your workplace, trying to balance the commitment we have here at 𝐂𝐿𝐶, and trying to balance your self-development as well, because at the end of the day, you're someone who is impacting knowledge, and if you stop learning, then it means there's no form of
You
knowledge to
die.
impact in the first place, right? So trying to balance it all, I would say, is one of the main challenges for me. And generally for me, if you know me, I love to, just chill, have that downtime, and, have time to myself to just relax as well. So just trying to balance it all is the most challenging part personally for me.
Yeah.
But then looking
Yeah.
at it from another perspective as well, another challenge is actually ensuring that we've actually got the right students and we've got the right mindset in the students that we, right? Because,
Important.
and it takes a lot of effort. Like we just onboarded some new students last week, this week, sorry. And,
Yeah.
it took a lot of effort. And one very word that we kept hearing from some of the students were, oh,
Commitment.
commitment challenges. And the truth is, Tayo and Noah, we know that from what they've said, there's a lot of work for us to do there,
Massive.
because we need to change their mindsets. And changing somebody's mindset can be the most challenging thing in the world, right? So we need to change their mindset from getting them to understand that they need to commit fully to this, and they need to be willing to sacrifice some things if they're actually going to see the result for what they're actually engaged in at the moment. So I would say that's another challenge for me on with when coaching students, just getting them to have the right mindset to actually, because at the end of the day, like I said earlier, the truth is anybody can do anything as long as you commit your mindset to it, or commit
Yeah.
your time as well. to it, anything is achievable, right? For some, we understand that everybody has different abilities, right?
I
Yeah.
agree.
But the only thing is that it's just going to take some people some longer time to achieve it than some others, right? As long as you understand yourself as a person and understand the time that you need to commit to achieve, whatever goal that you set for yourself, then trust
Yeah,
me, if Tayo and if we want to become, software developers today, for example,
we
it's,
can.
it's something that's possible.
100%.
100%, we will.
100%.
We will, but we just need to, look at other things. Okay, we have family, we have this, we have that, and we have students to coach. We also
Yeah,
need to look after our mental well-being as well. So, is
correct.
this something that is achievable? If it's not something that is achievable with the current commitments that we have, then we need to look at, okay, what's going to give? What do we have to sacrifice in order for us to achieve this? At the end of the day, it's all about prioritization. Even on the job, we understand that everything cannot be done on the same day, but it's all about
Nah.
planning.
Yep.
It's all about prioritizing which needs to come first over the other, right?
Wow. Beautifully said. I want us to switch gears and talk about, first of all, congrats to you and your beautiful wife. You are now an Aussie, which is exciting. And we're happy, we're happy about that. So can you walk us through the journey? And I know Taya has like a bit of background, but I don't,
Yes, I
right?
do.
Taya, you wanna ask the question that I'm
I
about.
I do. And congratulations on being Australian citizen. I think
Thank
that's
you.
always really beautiful to see. I think when I think about your migration journey, and I know this because, yes, insider, there's something that strikes me the most. And every time I remember it, it just says, I don't know how they did it. And myself and Noah would talk about it. And I remember putting Noah on a spot when I said, what would have been your reaction if that was you? Now, for context, 2 weeks to your wedding, one of the most beautiful days, of anyone's life, one of the most beautiful things happened. 2 weeks to that beautiful day, all my fears, immigration had told you you had 30 days to leave the country. Now, I don't know how anyone would ever do that. Please take me back to your thought process in those moments. How were you able to dance on your wedding day? Or how were you even able to have that wedding? I think that's the question because I
Taya,
think
you
that,
need to give context about your role on that day and why it's so significant.
okay,
The story, that's why I gave you to ask that question because you were there and the way
no,
you
I didn't
tell
know.
me,
I didn't even know. So
yeah.
for anyone listening, I had the privilege of catering or providing catering services on Tosin's wedding. Now the whole world came to that wedding, and I'm not even joking. People flew in from across Australia, Adelaide, Perth, etc. So it was massive, and the couple at giving me that opportunity. And I think Rosie would say something, I love the way you would present your meals and I love the way everything would be nicely set. I want that for my wedding. So I played a really big role. And for me, I'd, gone through the catering and I would speak to them about, okay, this is the plan and this is what we need to do. But I didn't even know. I knew about this after the fact. Until today, I could never get over it because I did not have a clue.
Yeah.
And for me, I had a disappointment on that day. The person that was meant to support me with cooking, I think they said they forgot or they slept off. I can't remember, but I was so upset. And I remember this man said to me, Kaya, why are you unhappy? The food is ready. You should be smiling. I'm like, no, I'm not happy. I was meant to be done 2 hours ago. I'm here. And it's like, no, the event is yet, you're still early. I was like, no, I'm not happy. And even he was still asking me why I wasn't happy, even though this man had a mail from the Department of Home Affairs to say, hey, you got 30 days to vacate the country. Goodbye, God bless. I don't know how you did it, but I'm really keen to find out how you maintained that level of peace in the midst of that chaos. Please.
Good question. And before I go into how I was actually able to maintain that, level of calmness, even with all that was happening at that time. I remember, immediately I finished studying, I applied for my permanent residence just to stay in Australia, right? And for some reason, I got married, and during that time when the application was still in process, I got married, and then my wife, obviously, she was able to actually apply as a separate candidate for herself, but we just thought we'd actually be able to save some dollars if put her on my own application, right? So that was what we did. My application was, I think, like in process for about 7 months back then, and then I put her on the application just so we could save some money instead of having to create a whole new different application for ourselves, right? So when I put in the application, it was sitting there, all good, no issues. And then we were waiting, waiting, waiting. We waited for about a year, and we didn't hear from immigration. We wrote a few times, but yeah, they just said we'll need to wait, this and that. And then, we're actually planning our wedding, and then this was after
Okay.
like a year. We are actually planning our main wedding celebration, and then so 2 weeks before the wedding, we got an email from immigration, and then I thought it was a wedding present, and I opened up my email and I was like, email notification. I'm sure you guys understand that feeling when you
Yeah,
see
like
Ah,
when you, when when you see that email saying immigration. I don't even know how it usually comes again, but immigration update
yeah.
or
sensitive
something.
information in brackets, and then
Sensitive, sensitive information. And then, I got that email and I was like, wow. And I remember very clearly that this was, Tayo, did I say 2 weeks?
yeah,
When
you
did you
did
have the ends night? Was it a week before the wedding or 2 weeks before the wedding?
the week before. The
The
week
week
before.
before. So I was wrong by
Yeah.
saying 2 weeks. So it would have been like a week and 2 days before. Yeah, before the wedding. So
Whoa.
because I remember it was just about 2 days to the end night that we actually got that letter. Yeah. So
Whoa.
I opened my email and I remember I was at work. In fact, I stepped out to the kitchen just to make a coffee for myself at my workplace back then. And then I got this email, and immediately of course, I was eager to open it up, and then I just
Yeah.
opened it, hoping to see congratulations, you've been
Grant,
granted Australian
granted.
Granted.
residency.
Hmm.
Then I saw the letter and I saw the header that said refusal of your permanent residence application. And yeah, I was stunned and I was really surprised because yeah, I thought I had put in all of the relevant, provided all of the relevant information and everything like that. And then I went into the details and I saw that the reason why we were actually rejected was because of I had put so the initial application that I did, I claimed a number of points, particularly as a single applicant when I applied. But then during the application process, I got married. So obviously, I think immigration would assess your application based on the number of points you've actually claimed before, when you actually put in the application. And I wasn't entitled to the single applicant points anymore, just
Anymore.
because I'd gotten married during the process, right? So, anyways,
Wow.
I remember that was the only reason, actually, not the main reason, the only reason why the application was denied. And immediately I was like, oh my God, what are we going to do? And then I saw the caveat there saying, because I applied when I was on a bridging visa, not when I was on a substantive visa. So, meaning that if you are denied an application when you are not on a substantive visa, what that means is that you are going to be
Yeah.
Section 48 barred, meaning you do not have the right to apply for another visa in Australia unless you leave the country and you're given 30 days to leave the country. So I was given 30 days to leave Australia. In fact, at that time, I was already strategizing on how I was going to get my plane ticket and, and go back. And I don't know, I don't know if it's just me, but generally, when I'm in that kind of situation, I usually don't panic, and I don't know why. Till today, I can't even explain the reason why I don't panic to things like that. And I don't know if it's because I'm like, okay, what's the worst that could happen? The worst is that I'll leave Australia and I'll go to Nigeria and I'll live a good life in Nigeria. But on a serious note, I really don't know why I didn't panic. I took all the necessary steps to see how I could, at least resolve the issue. And I remember during that period, within 2 to 3 weeks, trust me, I think I had gathered all the knowledge that some migration agents and even some migration lawyers will even have, because I was going into the details of actually reading the Australian constitution in relation to migration, right? I remember I spoke to a few migration agents back then, and they already be like, "Oh wow, you're already conversant with everything, conversant with the laws." I'm like, and that struck me hard because it just shows that the truth is you can be almost an expert at anything, but you don't really understand how you can, the maximum potential you can attain until you're in a particular situation.
I agree.
Yeah.
Until you're in a particular situation, you don't know the maximum potential you can attain. So I gathered all the knowledge. I wasn't panicking or anything, but I gathered all the knowledge, read the constitution, read everything, tried to list out options on what were our next steps, you get. And I remember we had listed out a couple of options. I'm not going to go into details, but yeah, I remember when we're going to take steps into, what the next step should be, exactly 4 weeks after the refusal letter came through, I got a call from my friend saying they had made an amendment in the constitution that would now favor me to reapply for that application even while I was in Australia. So I didn't have to leave Australia or I didn't have to do anything. And we're able to successfully put in another application. And it was only a matter of time before we actually got our permanent resident. But this is a scenario where a lot of people had actually, from my research, a lot of people had actually left the country because of this, segment of the constitution where, your section 48 bad and you cannot reapply for another visa in Australia. Lots of people that actually gone through that and had to travel to their own countries and were locked outside of Australia. But exactly 4 weeks after the refusal, I got that email and we were able to, put in the application. So I would say definitely there was a God factor there. Of course, we had to pray as well, and with prayer comes calmness as well. When you just, put things in the hands of God, like you feel that peace and that calmness and knowing that God is, God is in the situation. So I would say that's another thing that comes with calmness as well within the midst of, a storm or a trial, right? So yeah, that's the short story. There's still there's a lot to dig into that, but obviously I'm not going to go into details. But that's the story for that.
Wow.
I'm thinking as a bride, Noah.
You.
My groom to be has got 30 days to leave the country. And I know your wife, because I know her very well. She's my very good friend. I know she's got such a positive disposition to life. But how did she feel? I just really want to step into her shoes for a second. How did she feel at that moment? I'll be going off my head for sure. So
yeah, honestly, like I think she really handled things well. Like I was, as a lady, normally, like when you get that kind of message, you just be so, what's the word now? anxious,
Shaky.
yeah,
Eh,
shaky, and right. But she handled the situation really well as well. I was even amazed. Like, yeah, yeah. Kudos to her. She really handled the situation well. And I feel, part of the reason might have been the same energy that I rubbed off her. I just tried to calm the
mm,
situation. We just tried to assess things. At that stage, we are looking at what's the way forward. It has happened already. We can't dwell on we can't dwell on the past, on what has happened, right? We just need to look at the way forward and how we can go forward with this. And it's not going. I knew that at that point it wasn't really going to change anything in relation to the
wow.
day, like to the wedding day or to the ends night. It
Mm,
Yeah.
wasn't going to change anything. Like, yeah, we had already planned the big day, and we had to make it a memorable one. So whether the devil tried to play his gimmicks or not, we still, dancing in the midst of adversary actually confuses the devil. Yeah.
well
So,
done, Tosin. That is extremely inspiring, because when you think about when we're in difficult situations, obviously the brain and the mind is set up to run you, send you into the panic mode because it's a response to say, "Oh, we're in danger." But oftentimes that helps you to just remain situation focused rather than seeking what's the way forward and being calm in your mind. And I know that it's a skill that a lot of people need to develop, including myself. Like, I'm really developing those skills to not panic and tell my brain to feed me some more positive thought that I can actually act upon. And that's really, really helped me to say, hey, this is the situation. There's no need to be scared. Tell your brain to tell you something so that can get you out of that situation, at least provide you some comfort. But I'm super excited that we're here, you're living in Australia, living the life,
Yeah.
smashing things, and even going to the Parliament House in the
yeah.
same country where you've been given 30 days to exit. No, you want to do us take
Exactly.
the honors.
Yeah. All of us, we can marvel in that experience, right? Going to the Australian Parliament House for us was like the apex of
Mm,
everything in July when we got the opportunity. So I'm just keen to know, like, do you have takeaways? For me personally, right? I'm still temporary here, and
Yes.
my own mantra, just like you, I just know that, well, I want to add enough value that even the government will not have a choice, but like to
okay.
to say, yeah, this person we can't let you go. I don't worry about, well, there's worry, sometimes, but I guess that's a human thing. I don't
Exactly.
have that kind of calmness you would have. We always discuss that, myself and Tayo, like, what would be my reaction anyway? But the
And
thing is, when we got that yeah.
I'd say, a lot of people have different ways that they cope with this kind of
Response.
information, right?
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
Correct.
sometimes you need
Yeah.
to recognize people's coping mechanism. Like, for some
Exactly.
people, it might just be, doing something completely awkward. For some people, it might just be, engaging themselves in some other activities. For some people, it might
Yeah.
just be chatting away with a friend. So yeah, there are different,
Yeah.
we have different coping mechanisms
Yeah.
on how we actually
We
That
reduce
is
do.
anxiety on situations like that.
We do. And some
yeah.
people
That
don't.
is yeah. That is correct, and I know that feeling because me, like, I think I've received S66 like more than eight
Maybe
times.
maybe about 8 to 10 of them now.
Yeah, like, oh, for people that don't know, it's like when you get that
Yes.
email, sensitive information email. Oh, now we request more information to justify your visa, this and that. It's always annoying, like in that moment, like another one. Okay, now I don't even worry. But the
Yeah.
point here is we got the opportunity um to go and showcase what we've been working on at the Parliament House. So we were there for a purpose. What are some of your takeout? Also on the back of your experience having like 30 days, and now you have opportunity to be in that Parliament House. I think
Yeah.
that's the number one building in the country. So talk me through that experience for you.
Yeah, for me, it was a very proud moment. getting to see, all the MPs and, all of these different top government officials and dignitaries. I felt really proud, and it was a proud moment for me and the team, just to go there and particularly to be able to, speak among, innovators, speak among people that are doing great things, exchange ideas with them, right? You want to, that's the kind of environment where you just dream of being in every day, right? So yeah, being at Parliament House, particularly surrounded by great minds and great innovators, great products, seeing where the world is headed, right? And it just felt so great and inspiring, because after that event, I've just been inspired to do more, been inspired to contribute to, to our community, to the society. And that's what has, actually increased my desire to gain more knowledge, just to be able to contribute to the society. So yeah, great moment. And yeah, it's something that would continue to, we just keep raising the bar and to aspire for,
That's
for
right.
more. Right. And yeah,
Absolutely.
it's really
And
great.
yeah. And it's just like in synergy with your, you talked about innovation, right? All through
At the
today.
beginning,
And it's just like a realization for me. Like, we had like all these massive top companies across the world where even myself and you were engaging some people, Taya and Rosie, also LinkedIn, Google, just to know more about their tech and all of those things. And we're the only like black
the
company
only
there.
black.
Like that was just like surreal. But we want more people, we want more
Yes.
inclusion, diversity in that kind of space as well. But yeah, Taya,
Yes, I think
think we're landing the plane soon.
we are. It's been really, really inspiring just listening
Yeah.
to your journey. I think it also really makes me appreciate the work that you do more, learning more about the foundation and how far you've come. I think that's really beautiful. And all of these things flows really easily into one of our culture on the conversation. So we have a culture where the previous guest would leave the coming guest with something, a gift for them to share to the world. And the gift that the previous guest left for you was, what is one advice you would give to your younger self?
One advice I'll give to
I
my
like
younger self. So, one advice I would give to my younger self is to recognize the fact that, don't make decisions based on people's actions. And the reason I say that is a lot of people are too quick to make decisions based on people's actions. And that's the human and natural thing to do, obviously. Right? And it's just life. Like people judge you based on your actions, but then they expect you to judge them based on their intentions, right? So it's the normal human thing, right? So I would say before you make decisions or before you come to a judgment or conclusion, just calm down and examine the situation. Don't even think too logical about it sometimes, because sometimes logical reasoning fails, right? So I would say, yeah, to my younger self, just don't make decisions. And because I say this because decisions are critical things. At the end of the day, you're a product of the choices and the
that you made.
decisions that you've made. Right. So
That
if
is
you're
right.
making decisions based on other people's actions, then you might be making the wrong choices, you might be making the wrong decisions, right? And
Wow.
sometimes you don't even know why people do what they do. I remember reading a book a long time ago by similar high, why people act the way they do, right? And I remember reading in there that a lot of people actually go through different things, and then linking it back to what I was talking about in terms of coping mechanism. Some people do things because they are trying to actually cope from a particular situation, right?
That's
And
right.
Yeah.
you judge them based on that, then you might be judging them based on the wrong timing and based on the wrong thing in the first place, right?
Yeah.
So, in summary, I would say to my younger self, just pause before you
Yeah.
make decisions, particularly critical decisions. Just, you know, think about it, and sometimes you don't even have to think too logical, because it might be a complex situation on why that person has made that decision. So, like Noah usually says, context. If you don't have the context, then it means you don't have the full information, or you're not equipped with the full information to make a reasonable conclusion. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Powerful. And lastly, you will need to leave the next guest a gift.
Okay. Um, Let me think of this one very carefully. So the gift I want to leave for the next guests will be, um, in 10 years' time, where
Mm.
you see yourself.
Okay.
Wow.
Powerful.
Perfect. Cool. Thank you so much. It's been
2034.
and yeah, it's been insightful because even though we've been friends, right? It's just powerful that we've seen a different dimension. A lot of things that we've learned today are actually first time. I've never heard it before from you. So thank you for sharing and coming on the conversation. Really appreciate. There are going to be several conversations with you, definitely. But thank you. Learned a lot. Tayo?
Yes, thank you so much, Tosid, for sharing with us this behind the scenes, like I'd asked. Thank you so much. It's been absolutely inspiring for me, particularly as well, and seeing the other light and really understanding the foundation of all of the amazing things that you've been up to. So, with that, we are going to say we value your time and thank you again. This
Thank you.
is the conversation.
Thank you
Thank you
guys so
so
much.
much. If you want to catch up with our previous episode where we talk about how to transition to tech and other episodes, check out the playlist and be blessed. We see you. Please share, subscribe, and share with families and friends. We see you in the next episode. Thank you.
Right.